29. The Blood Orchard. On old maps, there's a grove marked Black Hollow Orchard. No one plants apples there anymore. They grow on their own, big, glossy, red as raw meat. A group of teens camped there on a dare. They laughed, drank, and took selfies beside the gnarled, blackened trees. Tom bit into an apple. It bled. He choked, then screamed, his teeth falling out, replaced by seeds. That night, they woke to the trees, whispering. Branches reached into tents. Roots crept up sleeping bags. By morning, only their phones remained. Each showed the same photo, smiling faces with bark for skin, eyes like rotten fruit. The caption read, "We've taken root." 30. The crawling guest. Every hotel has that one room. At the Grayson Inn, it was room 413. Queeners refused to enter. Guests never lasted more than a night. Something moved under the carpet like a slug dragging nails. Sarah, an influencer, booked it for content. She live-streamed the night. First, scratching, then a knock. From inside the walls, she joked until the camera caught something behind her. It crawled like a man with no bones, wet and pink, dragging its bloated stomach. She screamed and ran. The footage ends with her face pressed to the camera, whispering, "It's in me now." Her phone was found in the drain, hair wrapped around it. No one has stayed in room 413 since. But the live stream still plays on a loop, her smile getting wider with each hour. 31. The milk teeth. In the town of Grendel's Hollow, children place their lost baby teeth beneath pillows. Not for the tooth fairy, for something older. Something in the walls. In return, they got coins made of bone. And dreams that weren't their own, of forests made of gums, of crawling things with human faces. One boy, Jonah, lost a molar but forgot the ritual. He woke to the sound of scraping. The wall behind his bed split open. A hand, long and gray, slid through. The fingers ended in small mouths. They whispered, "You owe us," Jonah screamed. When his parents came, the boy was gone. In his place, a pile of baby teeth arranged in a smile. 32. The skin drum. The drumming didn't stop. Every night in the village of Lurim, the rhythm thumped from the trees. Hollow, wet, feral. Hunters followed it and never came back. Old Taylor spoke of the skin drum, a relic made from the flayed hide of a martyr, stretched across a cursed oak, played by a faceless wraith with hands made of jawbones. Erin, a folklorist, went to investigate. She found the oak and the drum. It pulsed when she touched it. The beat entered her chest. She began to move not of her own will. Her skin crawled, peeled. She screamed as the wraith behind her whispered, "New hide." Now the drumming continues, louder. The beat dot familiar. 33. Mother's hands. Tessa missed her mother. She found the locket in the attic silver, with a lock of dark hair inside. That night, her mother's hands returned. Just the hands. They stroked her hair, tucked her in. She cried, and they wiped her tears, fingers she hadn't felt in years. Then they didn't leave. They made breakfast, brushed her teeth, turned the locks. They grew bolder, clutching, dragging, pulling her toward the mirror. Tessa looked in it and saw her mother's face behind hers, stretched like a mask. "I'll take care of you forever," it said. Now Tessa's body moves like a puppet, and sometimes, through her stitched smile, her real voice begs, "Please let me go." 34. The gut burrowers. The sickness started with a twitch. Then the bloating. Then the movement under the skin. Dr. Lane thought it was parasites, but every x-ray showed nothing. Just shadows in the stomach like curled up fetuses. One night, a patient burst open. The things inside weren't worms, not quite. They had tiny limbs, tiny eyes, and teeth. Lane tried to run, but they followed. Crawling up drains, chewing through vents, he hid in the morgue. But the corpses weren't quiet anymore. Their stomachs bulged, twitched, popped, and something inside laughed. "38. The Scarecrow's Bride. They built the scarecrow from bones and straw. A wedding gift, they joked, for the town's harvest festival. But one night it moved. Then the animals began dying. It left gifts at Elsie's door, dead birds, flower crowns, teeth. They laughed. She didn't. Then it took her. The field was bare the next day, save for a new scarecrow beside the old one, wearing a torn wedding dress. Sometimes it twitches, and if you listen closely at dusk, you'll hear the old scarecrow whisper, 'Mine forever.' 39. The room with no corners, room 7 in the old boarding house, had no corners. Its geometry bent inward, like the space itself was folding. People who stayed too long complained of migraines, dizziness, and déjà vu. Then they started vanishing. One tenant carved a warning into the floor. 'It's in the angles.' When the landlord investigated, she found only a smear of blood and fingernails stuck in the smooth wall. Now the room is sealed, but the building creaks at night, and something keeps scratching at the inside of the sealed door, begging, 'Give me a corner.' 40. The hunger below in Grier Mine, they dug too deep. The last transmission from the miners was static and chewing. A rescue team went in. They never came back. Only one camcorder was found. The footage showed a vast cavern lit by glowing mushrooms, bodies everywhere hollowed out, skinned clean. Then the camera panned up to a wall of flesh, pulsing, watching. A voice whispered, 'More.' Now the mine is sealed in concrete. But sometimes nearby towns go quiet, and people swear they hear chewing beneath the earth. 41. The widow in the walls. When the old boarding school reopened, the workers found scratch marks behind the plaster and whispers. Some said it was mice. Others said it was her, the widow in the walls, buried alive by a jealous headmaster decades ago. A janitor named Cole stayed late one night to investigate. The whispering grew louder. He peeled back the wallpaper. A pale face smiled from the wooden beams. Finally, it whispered. They found him the next morning, entombed inside the drywall, smiling. Since then, the walls never stopped breathing. 42. The thing beneath the bell tower every full moon. The town's bell tower rings, though it's been abandoned for years. Inside, they say something was chained, fed with old prayers and black salt. Father Lawrence stopped the rituals, said superstition had no place in faith. The bells stopped, then came the screams. Windows rattled, blood seeped from the stones. Father Lawrence was found days later, hanging upside down, with bells stitched into his skin. Now the tower rings again, even louder. 43. The hollow-faced boy. They say if you find the hollow-faced boy in your dreams, never answer his question. He appears in old playgrounds, wearing a school uniform soaked in ash, his face a blank slab of skin. He asks, "Do you remember me?" Those who say yes wake up screaming, faces blank and mouths filled with soil. One girl, May, lied and said no. Now he follows her in waking life, appears in mirrors, watches from crowds. He never speaks, but someday she fears he'll ask again, and she might not be able to lie. 44. The lantern men in the wetlands. Lights dance across the reeds. Locals call them the lantern men, spirits of drowned sinners who lure the living into the bog. One night, 2 hikers followed the lights. The reeds whispered. The ground pulsed beneath their feet. Then the lights turned red. One hiker returned days later, clothes soaked and eyes empty. He repeated the same thing over and over. "They showed me what waits in the mud." The other hiker was found a week later, skin peeled, lungs filled with fireflies. 45. The teeth collector. Every month, someone in town woke up without teeth, no blood, no pain, just gone. They said the teeth collector had returned an old folktale of a shadow that traded secrets for enamel. When Anna found a coin beneath her pillow, one with her face screaming on it, she knew she'd been visited. The next night, she waited with a knife. At midnight, a childlike thing climbed from under her bed. Its face was smooth, its fingers were dental pliers. She never screamed. She just whispered, "What do you want?" It grinned with her teeth. 46. The mirror guest Evan moved into an old apartment. The only furnishing, a tall, cracked mirror. He covered it. The next day, the sheet was off. His reflection moved slightly behind him, always a half-second late, always smiling wider than it should. Then it started waving. One night, Evan stared too long. The reflection stepped forward. Now Evan's gone. But his neighbors say the mirror sometimes shows two figures, and only one ever blinks. 47. The feast, below the church under St. Brida's Cathedral, lies a sealed room, rumored to house the unspeakable relic. Father Mateo broke the seal. He wanted to see. Inside were bones, altars of meat, candles made of fat, and a table always set for 4. That night, he dreamed of joining a feast. At dawn, the nuns found him sitting at the altar, flesh half-eaten, teeth replaced by gold. He smiled and said they were still hungry. They resealed the room. But sometimes the bells ring during the night mass, and something knocks from underneath the floor. 48. The thread woman, a tailor, received a bundle of silk with no sender's name. It shimmered unnaturally, and every time he touched it, he saw visions' eyes in jars, lips sewn shut, a woman dancing with a body made of strings. He used the silk to craft a dress. The customer never arrived to collect it, but someone else did. A woman made entirely of thread, her eyes glass beads, her mouth open wide. She wore the dress. Then she touched the tailor's chest and pulled. Now he lives inside the dress, his face stretched across its lining. She wears him beautifully. 49. The forgotten room in House Briar. They discovered a room not on the blueprints. It was narrow, cold, with no door, just a hole in the wall. Inside, a child's chair, a cracked porcelain doll, and a photograph of a family with the faces burned out except for one, a girl with black eyes. That night, the household began hearing giggles. One by one, their faces vanished in the family portraits, until only the girl remained, waiting. 50. The last story. This one's about you. You've read too much, absorbed too many names, too many places. They say horror stories are doorways. Each tale has a key. Now, something's watching you. From the corner, from the reflection, from the gaps between words. It knows your name. It heard you whisper it when you read the one about the bloodwood tree. You'll go to sleep tonight and dream of roots, of teeth, of mirrors. And something will knock at your door. Don't answer. You've been marked. You are the last story. Wendigo Hollow, the town of Greyston, had vanished under decades of snowfall, but the stories never stopped. Hunters still spoke of the Wendigo, wrapped in furs stitched from human skin, stalking the edge of the woods where even the wolves refused to go. Daniel wasn't a believer. He was a survivalist YouTuber chasing a viral video. He strapped a GoPro to his chest, slung his rifle, and marched into the pines. By midday, the trees were packed so tight they strangled the light. He found the first sign of wrongness near a frozen stream, a deer carcass, skinned, eyes missing, its ribs peeled open like fingers reaching skyward. The GoPro caught the sound before he did a low hum, almost like weeping. The snow fell heavier. The shadows stretched longer. Then he saw the smoke. A cabin squatted at the edge of a clearing. Its roof sagged under ice. Yet the chimney puffed warm plumes into the sky. Daniel approached cautiously, rifle raised. The door creaked open before he touched it. Warmth spilled out. Firelight flickered. The smell of meat and spices filled the air. A voice, low and guttural, spoke from the rocking chair beside the hearth. "You must be starving." The figure was draped in thick pelts, hunched forward, sharpening a bone knife on a whetstone. As Daniel stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind him. The fire popped. Shadows danced. Daniel looked into the pot simmering over the flames and recoiled. It wasn't stew. It was a hand. A human hand. Fingers curled like it had reached for help even in death. "You've eaten worse," the figure said, standing. The furs slid off, revealing something far too tall, far too thin, its limbs spidered, its jaw unhinging to show layers of jagged, glassy teeth. Daniel turned to run, but the door had vanished. Not shut, gone. Walls stretched like elastic. The fireplace moaned. The floor pulsed under his boots. The Wendigo grabbed him by the wrist. Daniel fired his rifle point blank, but the beast didn't bleed. It just laughed, deep and full, like the wind howling through bones. "Now you'll be warm forever." When spring came, hikers found the cabin. Inside, a GoPro still recorded. It caught Daniel's final scream, and the Wendigo staring into the lens, whispering, "You're next." Swamp Light's Lena had been warned. The Pineback Swamp was no place for the living. But when her sister Belle vanished, lured in by glowing green lights, Lena refused to accept it. Locals told her stories over whiskey and trembling webstales of will-o'-the-wisps, fairy lights that floated just above the black water, leading the lost into the hollow mouth. "The swamp doesn't drown you," they said. "It eats you." Armed with rope, flares, and a machete, Lena pushed her kayak into the sludge at sunset. Within minutes, the frogs stopped croaking. The birds vanished. Only the bugs remained, buzzing like static. Then came the lights, soft green orbs floating just above the cypress roots. They blinked in rhythm, dancing between trees, always just out of reach. Hypnotic, familiar. Lena paddled after them. Hours passed, the sky turned ink black. The swamp grew deeper, darker. The kayak bumped something beneath the surface, soft, round. When Lena leaned over, she saw faces staring up at her, trapped beneath the glassy water, eyes wide, mouths open, hair drifting like seaweed. The lights multiplied. They danced around a mound of moss rising in the distance, and standing atop it, Belle, pale, grinning. Her skin was raw, too thin, too glossy. Her eyes glowed like the swamp lights themselves. "Come home," Belle whispered. Lena stepped out of the kayak. The mound squelched under her foot. It pulsed, and then it opened. Rows of teeth unfolded from beneath the moss, revealing a colossal maw hidden just beneath the surface. Roots uncoiled like tongues. The light swirled overhead in ecstasy. Lena slipped backward into the water, clawing at her knife. Belle lunged too fast, too fluid. Her mouth stretched open unnaturally, jaw splitting at the hinge. Lena drove the blade through her chest. Belle screamed not in pain, but in rage, and dissolved into a cloud of insects. The mound snapped shut. The swamp sighed. Lena swam, bleeding, for hours. The kayak was gone. So was her rope. So were the stars. She was found days later on the edge of the water, shivering, holding a single green light cupped in her hands. Sometimes at night, it blinks, and her eyes glow back,